Tonight on Dr. Phil Primetime.
I was kicked, I was spat on. I witnessed a woman being tortured. Her legs were tied together and they were beating her. One of them had a pistol right on her head and was threatening to kill her.
Do you know what happened to that woman?
It's very hard when I think about Matan. He was severely burned.
He's still there now.
We need to get all of the hostages back as soon as possible. Their condition is deteriorating. They need to be saved.
On October 7th, 2023, Hamas terrorists launched a purely evil and brutal attack on Israel, murdering approximately 1,200 innocent civilians and ripping from their homes 251 people, dragging them into inhumane captivity in Gaza. Among them, American Israeli Keith Siegel and his wife, Aviva. Last May, I spoke with Aviva in Israel after she was freed, while her husband Keith was still being held.
I want the world to understand that no human being should go through what I went through and what Keith is going through. On the 7th, something happened in the world, something beyond anybody's imagination. People are still there going through hell every day, every minute. I saw everything, I felt everything.
You said they were touching girls. What were the terrorists doing?
It's very difficult for me to talk about it. Girls aren't allowed to be touched like that at all. And if people think it's not true, I'm here to tell you that it's true, because I was there. Keith and I were moved 13 times, and Keith is still there for more than 7 months.
Well, I'm so sorry. And have you had any proof of life for Keith?
There was a video that came out, I'm just not able to see it, that I know how sad he is and how much he's begging to get out there. And we begged together for 51 days.
Obviously, you want Keith home. What do you think needs to happen to get that to occur?
I don't know, but I want to tell all the politicians, it's your job. Everybody's just closing their eyes, closing their ears. I come from Kibbutz Kfar Aza. Families were burnt alive. 63 people were murdered.
Now, they are reunited. After 484 days, Keith was released. Tonight, I sit down with them both, together. And like Aviva sat with me a year ago, the wife of hostage Omri Moran will join us. Her husband has spent more than 600 days in the darkness of Hamas tunnels while she clings to hope. Their family's pain is a reminder that this crisis is far from over. Here are Keith and Aviva. How are you?
Good to see you.
Hello.
It's really good to see you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, I'm so glad to be able to have you. I'm so proud to meet you and so proud to get to talk to you. This could have had a very different ending. Did you think this day would come?
Well, I wanted it to come. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to dream about. But I wanted it so badly that I knew that that would be the only thing that I would do. But I just want to say that now that Keith has come back, I'm the happiest person in earth. But Gali and Zivi, they're twins from Kibbutz Kfar Aza. They're still there with all the other hostages that are alive. There's 20 hostages that are still alive, waiting and begging to get out of hell. Yeah. So that's what we're doing.
Well, you were released after 51 days. Keith, you were released after 484 days on February 1st of this year, and you were the first American hostage to be released. And it was part of a really disgusting ceremony put on by Hamas. You were given a gift bag as propaganda by Hamas with items such as photos of hostages while in captivity, a release certificate, a map of Gaza Strip, and you were forced to write a detailed letter of thanks which the Hamas sickos put online. And let me ask you, 484 days, 365 days in a year. So that's a long, long time. Were you aware when Aviva was released? Did you know she had been released?
Yes, I knew that the location that we were held in at the time had a television, and we actually saw Aviva's release. We saw her being taken out of the Hamas car and led by two terrorists to the Red Cross vehicle. I saw Aviva get into the Red Cross vehicle. The door was closed, and there was a huge mob surrounding the vehicle, and they were very hostile and screaming and banging on the vehicle, on the car, on the Jeep. And that's the last I saw of Aviva, being taken amongst this huge crowd of people that were screaming. And as I said, put in the car, and the car drove away. Yes, I did not know if Aviva made it back to Israel.
You knew she got into the Red Cross vehicle because of the hostility of the crowd. You weren't sure if she got out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there was no coverage of the hostages arriving in Israel.
Did you think that was a positive thing for her to make it that far? Or was your perception that this is a good thing? Or did you think, was it more she's still at risk? What registered with you the most? That it was a positive move, or you still didn't know?
Yes, I was very happy when they came the day before to say that Aviva was going to be released the next day, hoping that this was the truth, feeling like it was. We were told that I would be released the day after Aviva, so trying to believe that this is the case. So we're saying goodbye for a day or so, and we will be reunited the day after in Israel. And that's how we parted. They came and they took Aviva, and we said goodbye, and hopefully see each other in another day.
Do you believe that was psychological warfare, that they didn't intend to release you the next day, or did something happen? Do you believe that was psychological warfare, that they didn't intend to release you the next day, or did something happen?
I don't know. I don't know. It's possible. They were telling us that Israel decides which hostages are going to be released. And if that was the case, we were thinking that if Aviva's being released, and maybe I didn't fit into the daily quota of the numbers of hostages being released, but that I would be released the next day and we would be reunited. I wasn't sure, but I kind of was thinking and hoping and believing to a certain extent that this was going to happen.
Taking a long view of this, you grew up in North Carolina, and then you wound up over a year as a Hamas hostage. Tell me, did you think back to your time in North Carolina when you were held as a hostage? Did it seem surreal that you could be in that situation?
Yes, I thought a lot about my childhood growing up. I thought a lot about my family. I thought a lot about my life for as far back as I could remember until the present. I thought a lot about people, my family, my parents, my brothers and my sister, Aviva and our kids and our grandchildren. And as surreal as it was in the beginning, in many, many ways, the time in captivity, many experiences, many horrendous and outrageous and things I never would have imagined possible that we experienced. As time went by, the surreal became the normal reality of life as a hostage. My family gave me a lot of strength. I promised Aviva, I promised myself that I would survive, that I must survive to return to my family. I was haunted by thoughts of their suffering while I was in captivity, not knowing how I'm doing, if I'm okay, if I'm healthy, if I'm even alive. Just the disconnection or detachment from my family, from my friends, and not knowing how they're doing and not being able to, they're not being able to know how I'm doing was one of the most challenging, if not the most challenging thing about being in captivity.
Take me back and listen, I don't want you to talk about anything that you don't want to talk about. So if I ask you anything that you just don't want to go into, then just tell me.
Feel free to ask whatever you would like to.
Thank you.
I have a tendency to talk a lot about my coping. One of the big things that helped me to survive, to cope with the situation, was trying to believe that the situation is not as bad as it really is. And I think that helped get me through the 484 days, focusing on the present and trying to minimize the horrific things that I experienced and that I witnessed, and trying to maximize the fact that I'm alive and my body is one piece. Coming out of that situation and telling my story, I have the tendency to minimize horrible things that happened to me. So it's very important for me to stress the horrible, horrendous violence that I experienced in captivity, and also what I witnessed, other hostages experiencing horrendous violence. I was kicked, I was spat on for no reason whatsoever. I was lying on my back on the floor, and all of a sudden, one of the terrorists came up to me and he started screaming at me, saying that my army kills women and children, and he cursed me and he spat on me and then he kicked me. And this happened day after day for 2 consecutive days. He kicked me in my ribs, and my ribs were very, very sore for the next over a month. I couldn't lie down without being in severe pain. And I witnessed a woman being tortured, literally lying on her back with her mouth, I'm not sure what it's called, like with something so she couldn't speak, covering her mouth. And her legs were tied together and they were beating her with a rod and telling her that she must confess to what they were accusing her. They were accusing her of having some kind of a position in the IDF, which was not true. They called me into the room. I saw her, and they told me I must tell her to tell the truth. Otherwise, the beating and the torture was going to continue. One standing behind her with a metal rod with a point at the end of it. And he was actually pressing her forehead with this rod, standing behind her and applying pressure to this woman's forehead with this rod. This was feeling helpless, feeling like I just want to help this woman get out of this situation. And to this day, it haunts me that I did not help her, that I was not able to stop this torture. And the same woman, they put her down on the floor, on her knees. One of them had a pistol right on her head and was threatening to kill her if she doesn't tell them the truth. And again, this watching this happening right next to me and not doing anything to stop it. I feel really, really bad about that, from then until this day. We were starved, we were dehydrated.
Do you know what happened to that woman?
Is it a loop?
Do you know what happened to that woman?
She was released. She was released in the first hostage agreement. Because they released women and children first.
Where were you? Where was this happening? Where were you being held at this time?
In an apartment.
An apartment?
Yeah, in an apartment. And living in the apartment, we were held by 3 terrorists, and one of them's wife and 3 children were staying in the apartment the same time we were there. We weren't supposed to see the wife, but the children, they would bring the children in to where we were being locked in the room. And there was one of the, I think a 3-year-old girl came into the room, and she was holding a pistol, a real pistol in her hand, just like walking around with this pistol in her hand. And just one example of many.
And you did see the wife?
Yeah, for a brief, we weren't supposed to see her. She wasn't supposed to see us, but they brought her. There was very intense bombing during the time that we were there, and they told us we might need to leave the apartment on short notice because of the bombing. It might be dangerous to stay there. So they brought the wife and the children into the room where we were being held, and told us to put on our clothes, like local style clothing to put on when we were taken out of the house, so that we wouldn't look suspicious.
And how was the apartment? Was it a basic apartment, a nice apartment?
I would say medium.
I would say that for Israel, a very low standard, but for Gaza, it was a high standard.
I stayed in many locations. I was moved 33 times during my 484 days in captivity. So I stayed in, we were in tunnels, Aviv and I. We were in a tunnel that's 130 feet underground, literally gasping for our breath. There was just very little air to breathe in there. And we were left there alone for hours, for the whole night. And
For days.
Aviva was sick, kind of a stomach problem. We were weak, very, very little food, very, very little water. As I said, left alone for hours and for the whole night. And I was thinking if we needed help or medical treatment or care or anything, there's no way that we would be able to get out of this tunnel. I mean, getting in and out of this tunnel was very, very challenging physically, and even just to find our way. I mean, it's not like you go straight down and straight out. Some of it is on a ladder. We crawled through some of it. Even if we had the physical ability to get out of this place, we wouldn't know how to, because it was like a maze.
How deep down were you? How many stairways or flights did you go down?
I remember going down a ladder, and I remember going down, crawling a section of it, because it was too low of a ceiling. It was just like crawling through this, like, not a pipe, it was ground, but you couldn't stand up. And then the rest was stairs, but very, very steep. They told us they were staying a floor above us. And then if we needed anything, to come to the stairs and to call them, and they will come. And that's what we did. When Aviva was feeling, she was sick and she needed medication. So another hostage and I went to the stairs, and we called them and we screamed for them. Nobody came.
No help.
No help.
You were shot in the hand. When did that happen?
That happened on October the 7th.
That was the day you were taken.
Right. Yeah, on the way from our home, where they broke in and shot into the room we were trying to be safe in, forced us out of the window, and on the way to the car, they were screaming, telling us to go faster. I was trying to slow things down, hoping that we would be rescued before they took us. So they were behind us. They pushed me, and with force, brutally pushed me, and I fell on the ground. My ribs were hurt, possibly broken for like a month, over a month, in severe pain, similar to what I described after being kicked. And then on the way, they shot at us from behind. Like right here, you can see the scar. Fortunately, it wasn't deep.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of peeled off a layer of skin, but it was an open wound for a few weeks, a month.
Did you lose weight while you were there?
Yes.
How much?
I said
I'm not
at
sure.
least 30 kilos, at least.
Yeah, I weighed 57 kilos when I was released. I think it's 125 pounds. I had lost a whole lot of body mass. It was a combination of both weight loss, severe weight loss, and also body mass.
Yeah. What did they feed you?
Pita bread, and it's like hummus, but it's made out of fava beans.
Mm-hmm.
It changed depending on where we were and the time, on the timeline. There were times where we were severely starved and very, very little amounts of food, to the extent that we were weak. We were dizzy. We felt, both physical and mental suffering, wondering if we would get food and how much it would be. Very, very little amounts of food. I remember some of the time they brought us like a little, it was humanitarian aid that Hamas takes it, a lot of it, for them. So we were being held by Hamas, and they gave us the food that they had, I guess, stolen from the population. And yeah, just like an airplane, you get on the airplane, kind of rectangular little thing. So that was that plus like a half of a pita bread, which is about half the size of a normal pita bread because they're very thin and small. And that was a meal. That was one out of two meals that we had for the 24 hours. But we could feel and we could see that we were losing weight.
How many people were you typically with on average? Were you with 2 or 3 other people or 4 or 5 other people? Were you ever in a large group?
Mm-hmm. Between 3 and 4 captors, most of the time 3. And 6 months I was on my own, like I was the only hostage with terrorists. It's very hard when I think about Matan. And other hostages that I was held in captivity with, he's still there. Matan was seriously injured on October the 7th, and I met him in the middle of December of 2023. We spent 67 days together. He was severely burned, and during the time we were together, he experienced severe pain, and he couldn't move his arm properly. One of the arms was burned from the forearm, basically from the shoulder down to his hand, and including his hand. So he couldn't move his fingers. Very limited ability to move his arm and his fingers. And he had experienced brutal interrogation by Hamas. This is Matan. This is Matan, what he looked like just before October the 7th. And this is Matan after being interrogated
Right.
by Hamas. And you can see that
very different, and he's still there now.
he's still there. Hamas released a video of Matan a few weeks ago.
לא רואים את הסוף. לא רואים את הסוף של הדברים, של כל הסיפור הזה. אני רוצה להגיד לצה"ל, אתם לא תצליחו להחזיר אותנו. לא תצליחו להחזיר אותנו בכוח צבאי. הדרך היחידה להחזיר אותנו היא רק בעסקה.
Just a completely different, look to me, comparing to how he looked and how he spoke and his body language. It was, it's clear to me that Matan and all of the remaining hostages in Gaza their condition is deteriorating as time goes by. Their physical condition and their mental, psychological condition. And that's why it's so urgent to get all of the 58 hostages back as soon as possible. The ones alive, back to their families, receive the medical treatment that they need. Matan has been in need of proper medical attention treatment since October the 7th, which he has not received. And I call upon President Trump, I call upon Prime Minister Netanyahu, the mediating countries to engage in negotiations, move them forward, set it as a high priority to get all of the 58 hostages back, the alive to rehabilitation, the deceased to a proper, honorable burial, which is important in the Jewish faith.
And how much time did you spend with Omri?
We were 4.5 months together, but they took Omri on the 4th of July. So we're not far from a year from the last time that I saw Omri. Omri is the father of 2 daughters, aged 4 and 2 today. They only really know their father by a picture of him. And you can see what Roni, his 4-year-old daughter, says to her mother. And we became very close, Matan and I, and Omri and I. We spent extended periods of time together, and we helped each other get through the day.
I can say that all the families, that their loved ones are there. There's Gali and Zivi, the twins from Kibbutz Kfar Aza, that are still there.
Yeah.
And it just breaks my heart knowing that they're still there. And their mom, she is not able to even talk. She's at home. Her husband isn't well at all. So I just hope that he keeps alive until these 2 27-year-old guys come back. And what is happening to them in Gaza, everybody's heard so many of the stories that are just the worst that anybody can go through. Keith didn't tell you that for the last half a year that he was there, the only thing that he did was lay down on a filthy, dirty mattress on the floor with his eyes closed. And that's what he did. He didn't even sit. He didn't have anybody to talk to, anybody to be with, and starved and trying to keep himself alive. And I know that he had very special ways of doing that, but these are youngsters that are very young, that we just need them all out in a deal. And I just want to say that Hamas is responsible of what these guys are going through. Alon Oil, he plays the piano, and I heard something that he played, his parents showed me, and he's the most sensitive person in earth, and I heard it through the music. And he's got nothing to do there. There's nothing to do there. All you do is lie down on the floor, if you have a mattress, sometimes just on the floor or on the sand in the tunnels. And you have to try and figure out how to move the time. And I want to tell you, the way that I moved the time was thinking, when am I going to die? When are they going to kill us? If I'm going to see Keith dying, if I'll ever get out of there.
Hamas also released a video of Omri.
לא יום הולדת שני עובר פה. אי אפשר להגיד רחוקי, היא עובר פה בשבי החמאס. אני כבר לא שמח 1.5 שנה. אני לא מפיק להגיע לילדות שלי, לאשתי.
I was in captivity 484 days. Omri, Matan, Gali and Ziv, and all of the hostages have been in captivity for 591 days.
And you two know Omri's wife.
Yes.
Let's add Lashai now. Let's bring her in and add her to our conversation.
לילה.
טוב, אבא, מי שמע אותו?
הוא שומע אותנו?
כן.
ומה עוד נגיד לו? שאנחנו מה? אנחנו או...
חכות לך.
אנחנו...
חכות לך. חכות לך.
אוהבות אותך. לילה טוב.
אבא.
Well, Shai, thank you for joining us. We were just talking about Marie, who's been in 591 days. Is that right?
Yeah.
So sorry. I'm so proud to meet you. And as I said, so sorry for the circumstance. I wish we were talking about something else.
Yeah.
Tell me, is there anything that you know that we don't know? Anything, any news that you have, any information that updates things?
No, unfortunately, no. You know, this is a question that everyone asks us, the families. And unfortunately, we hear everything from the television, from the news, and we don't have a lot of details. You know, when kids get out, I have some news from Omri, but also this is what from July. And now, before 3 weeks, Hamas released a video of Omri, so I can see him, but I don't really know what his condition. I just can see in his eyes that he's really tired, that he's in depression, that he sitting, you know, Omri is a shiatsu healer, and normally he sit like this, and I saw his, you know, his body like this. I saw his face, but I really don't know what's happened to him right now and what's happened to him when they filmed this film also. So
Now, he turned 48 in April, right? So
Yeah.
he's now the oldest hostage that we know of.
yeah, that's still alive in
That's still
captivity.
alive, that we
Yeah.
know is still alive.
Yeah, he's a survivor.
Right.
And he's a really survivor.
Now, you were all held at gunpoint, right?
Yeah, we held in our home together, me, Omri, and our 2 young daughters. Alma was just 6 months old, and Ronnie was just 2 years old. We held together 4 hours. In the end of these hours, they took Omri, and I stayed with the girls. It was a miracle for us because we are alive, Ronnie, Alma, and me. But they took Omri. And since then, I have just 2 rules in my life, you know. A wife of a hostage and a mother of 2 young daughters that saw their father took in front of their eyes. And this is what I do. We know from kids that just in May 24, Omri knows that we are alive. We are alive, me and the two daughters. So you just can imagine to yourself what it's mean to be held like this. They took you from your home, from your wife, from your kids, and they told him that we are dying. And just in May 24, he knew that we are alive.
How old are the children now?
Now Ronnie and Alma, they are almost 4 years old, Ronnie, and Alma, she's 2 years old. And this is how today we took a photo with their father. You know, they ask me every week, I want a new photo with Daddy. Ronnie asked in her kindergarten, where is Gaza? Because they showed there all the map of Israel. So she asked, where is Gaza? And after she asked and she see where is Gaza, and it's really near to Nahal Oz, where we are living, she asked all the kids in the kindergarten, help her to bring daddy from Gaza. Because she understand, the first time she understood how it's really close. She saw Kramim, she saw Nahal Oz, and she saw Gaza, so it's really, really close. And she really tried to understand why it took so long to bring daddy, because it's really, really close to our home. And Alma, it's really another story, because Alma, like I say, she was just 6 months old. She don't remember Omri. Omri, for her, it's the man in the photo. This is daddy.
What did it mean to get the updates from Keith that you were able to get when he was released?
Wow. It's, it's a lot for us. Every single piece that we know from Kit about Umri, it's like a word for us. It was really helpful to be with a man like Kit, and they take care each other, really.
Yes, we helped each other. Omri helped me a lot.
You care very much for Omri. You came to care very much for him, right?
Yes. Yes, as I said, we were together for 4.5 months and sharing horrible experiences together, life-threatening situations many times, and abuse of many different kinds. Omri was punished because, I'm not sure if I told you this. Omri was punished because, I'm not sure if I told you this, but it was very, very hot, and Omri took off his shirt, and the captors said that this is not acceptable to be without a shirt, that you must put on the shirt. And Omri tried to explain to them that it's very, very hot, and he's sweating, and he asked for them to let him be without a shirt. And then they told him, from now on, you have to stay in the room. And we were being held in a very, very small room, just barely enough for the 2 mattresses that we were sleeping on the floor. And I told Omri, you have to ask permission to get out of the room, to go to the toilet, and you're not allowed to watch TV or anything other than staying in this room. Just because he took off his shirt because it was hot.
Yeah.
Do you think Omri believes he's going to be released?
I can only tell you what I was thinking in captivity. And I was there, as I said, for 484 days, and Omri has been there for 591 days. I was trying to believe that I would be released, not having any idea when that would happen. After such a long time where nothing, from the time the agreement that Aviva was released in, and which was in November of 23. After so long, I was wondering when I would be released, and thinking it's possible that I will never be released. The uncertainty, just not knowing when or even if this will happen. And as I said before, the life-threatening situations, whether it's the captors that have murdered hostages in captivity, the war, which also presents danger to the hostages. And now that the war is resumed, I am more anxious and fearful for their safety. I hope that Omri is able to have hope and belief that he will be released soon, I am sure that Omri gets a lot of strength thinking about Lishai and his daughters, and a reason to survive, something to come back to.
I have more questions for Lishai. Her strength is remarkable, but so is the pain she carries every single day, not knowing if her husband is alive or dead. And tomorrow we continue this urgent conversation with other families still trapped in a nightmare that hasn't ended. We'll meet a brother whose sibling vanished from the Nova Music Festival and a young woman whose parents were murdered, her father's body still being held by Hamas. Tomorrow,
She called me screaming while I was hiding in the closet.
We saw Vital inside a cell. It looked underground, it was dark, it was terrified.
they were led to believe they were going to be released. Then they had them watch other hostages being released and then pulled them back.
Yes.
You know these hostages are decaying in those tunnels. They're deteriorating. There has to be urgency every single minute of every single day to get them back. That's tomorrow night. This is not over, and we are not turning away. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow night.